Okay, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, the movie discussion. It begins with the greatest movie logo. It's a studio logo that there is in all of the movies, which is the old Universal logo, an MCA company.
It makes me excited to see it. Never thought of it as being the best, but now that I see it, I do want a shirt.
Well, every time I see it, I just get oh, right. Oh, I'm in good hands.
Casting couch.
E.T. is
great politics of these white men serving us this delicious.
I'm talking about the corporation, the disembodied corporation that exists outside of people, unless it comes to politics, in which case it's a person who has political rights.
Oh.
Yeah. E.T. might be the universal property, at least if it's not, I think it might have been overtaken by Jurassic Park, but E.T. was the sort of the mascot for Universal Studios. And we
went on the ride. We went on the bike ride.
The E.T. ride is still at Universal Studios somehow. Steven Spielberg very, very woodenly introduces the ride. Hi, I'm Steven Spielberg. 18 is
You may know me from such classics as E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial.
And then you have to go help E.T.'s Professor Botanicus.
How do you remember?
Save the green place. It's from Podcast The Ride. They talk about it all. They're obsessed with the lore of the very strange lore of E.T. the Ride and his teacher Botanicus.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The movie E.T. But these are alien botanists. I always forget that we see inside their ship for a second. Looks kind of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory-esque, but
there's a lot of moments in this movie that they're not totally clear. I don't totally understand them. I feel like I need to watch the movie a bunch of times to understand. I did not know this was inside their ship. Mm-hmm. Looks like it's inside of a garage.
What is a ship but a garage?
True. And the little gnome Christmas lights down there that glow. That's interesting, though. He's from a people who go to different planets and collect different organisms to bring back and study, I suppose. But why so callous? Why they leave you behind, E.T.?
Because they're scared. And I think from this we get that he is especially wistful and curious because he sees the giant trees and he goes out further than he should to look for them.
He's Mark Wahlberg. It's your curiosity that got you on this ship, Mark Wahlberg. But
From Planet of the Apes?
Yes, but it's also what got you in that pod without thinking, going through an electrical store and landing on the Planet of the Apes and then back in the pod. Your brain is always out there. Makes you good at what you do, but bad at what you do.
He's always thinking with his dick, but his dick is his green thumb.
End scene.
He's looking at these big trees, he's admiring them, and then the government agents swarm, and then the ship takes off without E.T.
I thought maybe this was just a band of janitors or men who run properties. Maintenance men.
They could be.
They're all it's just Dick Heighton down, and they all have so many keys.
Yeah, we'll find out this is just Forestry Service or whoever.
What are they unlocking? How many doors are there in the forest?
So there's only one guy with the keys.
I have a theory about the keys.
Okay.
Because it's the perspective of kids and we're supposed to feel the limitations of being a child, we have to come up with solutions that a child can come up with, like faking sick, like hiding stuff in your closet, that kind of thing. That when I was growing up and I would go to daycare, or just in general, I was always fascinated with my mom having this big ring of keys. It was a big ring and she'd wear it on her hand and it made a very specific noise when she'd walk into daycare. I could be 2 rooms away and I'd be like, Mom's here. You're so excited for that initial, I'm free, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Those keys just to me signaled adulthood. She opened things. She drove things. So I just think that it's very clever to use that as a significance for power in a movie that's from the perspective of a kid. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's obvious.
And at the height at which a kid could see it.
Well, right. That's why I know that that's what it's about. It's not a joke on him. It's this guy's got power because jingle jangle.
And so that you can always identify him. And in the credits, he's just the character Peter Coyote. He's credited as Keys. That's his name is Keys.
They don't make it totally clear it's not a lot of men with keys, but because there's several men running around.
Well, yes, I agree. And the only adult face you see in the movie is the mother until the government comes into their house. No, you don't see the teacher. You only see the teacher.
Oh, wow.
Just assume it. Yeah, face down or whatever. But so I think you think this is a little confusing. I think it's a little it has to get out a lot about what these aliens are, what their nature is, that they're not threatening, they're curious, and they have this sort of like empathetic connection to all of life and to each other. And that's why they're going to get the plants and the animals. And
okay, I didn't get that.
And E.T. starts to get sick when he gets far away from his people because they all need each other.
That is sweet.
So, and then, but you know, right away, E.T. abandoned. Elliot feels abandoned by his dad. They are connected thematically and emotionally even before they meet each other.
And both curious, right? Because when you see Elliot's room, it's full of just projects he's in the middle of. It's not a total play. There's no toys in sight. There's not a lot of playful anything. It's only toys in the connecting closet, which are all Gertie's.
That's not true. He has a lot of action figures.
Yeah, but you can tell he's the kind of kid that's into the collecting of them. I mean, he does show how you can play with them, but he seems to be into like exploring ideas.
Yeah, he plays with them like in ways he sees the kids on commercials do it just so that he's like,
maybe
this is their function. I know they fight, but really I'm just interested in owning them.
Yeah, he's a collector.
We meet the Taylor family, and Elliot wants to play this game with them. Now, an important correction. Earlier in the episode, we said this is Dungeons and Dragons. It is not Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. It is Tunnels and Trolls. And I went down an internet tunnel trying to find out more about this.
You didn't troll anyone, though.
No, I would never.
Good.
There's a lot of, it's mostly just message board posts because there's lots of people saying they couldn't, like with M&Ms, they couldn't get the license to Dungeons and Dragons, so they got Tunnels and Trolls. And then some people said, no, it was Dungeons and Dragons in the theatrical cut, but on home video, it was Tunnels and Trolls or something.
So there is no Tunnels and Trolls?
There is a Tunnels and Trolls.
Well, what I liked about it was that it looked like a more simplified version of it with like a true game board.
According to Wikipedia, Tunnels and Trolls, which came out in 1975, was intended to be a more accessible alternative to D&D.
Well, and also you can wrap it up. It's not an ongoing thing. You don't have to have the same group of people every time to like keep building out on the game, but it's just like we can do the same fun stuff, use the same mechanisms, but the game is done when we're done.
Yeah. And they say game master and not dungeon master. But
okay.
We'll just note that for the record. Don't come at us, bros.
Is this the first instance of a house by a cornfield where the cornfield does not play some spooky area for a scene to happen?
There is a scene though. Elliot goes into the field to look for E.T.
It's so short.
It is short, but that's
the outside of Elliot's house is so much more about the forest and about the biking in the neighborhood, and it's on the outskirts of this very modern town. I just feel like the cornfield is good for surrounding it and why E.T. ends up there because he's on the outskirts. I don't know.
Well, like M. Night Shyamalan clearly took inspiration from this for Signs. And we, on our Signs episode, I can't remember the number, but we did it in October. We talked about how it was a very Amblin feeling movie with its beams of light and its shots of the cornfield, and you can't see something, but you know it's out there.
With that freaking stained glass window that we both commented on, and it's in the closet. That stained glass window in the closet of this movie.
Is there one in this movie?
Yeah, it's really prominent, and you can see it from the outside. And once you know it's in there, you realize where their closet is from the outside too. It's right facing the backyard. It's a really pretty window.
Yeah,
it's very unique to have such a decorative touch in a closet.
Yeah, not an ideal place for it. But
I don't know.
It's on the outside. It's on the outside too. You can see from the outside.
It's the middle of the house, so it makes sense on the outside.
So yeah, Elliot wants to play Tunnels and Trolls, but they're like, "Oh, come on, Pukwad, get us a pizza."
And the guy's on the phone the whole time, and it never made sense to question it when I was younger, but now I'm like, what is he? He's on the radio talk, like he's on some sort of like talk. He's trying to request something, I think.
Oh.
I think you remember how you'd stay on like Q93 or like any local radio show waiting to request your song just to hear your voice on the radio for like a second.
I never tried that.
Oh God, it was hours. Okay. But he's doing that or some kind of party line. I guess he could just be talking to a friend, but he seems to be like doing some sort of business on this phone.
But everybody's like doing their own thing. There's a lot of overlapping. The audio mix makes it so that you can't totally tell what's happening. Spielberg does this in his early movies, and it was just a thing to do in the 70s.
It looks like the opening theme song stuff to Roseanne.
Oh.
It's them just fussing over like a very this era table and hands are everywhere and there's just chaos and it just, it totally reminds me of that.
So they say you can join the game after you go out and get the pizza. So Elliot goes out and meets the guy for the pizza. I always get pizza anxiety in movies when people don't order enough pizza. This is like 6 teenage boys
4
gonna share one little pizza. Plus, Elliot's going to need some pizza. You got to give some pizza to the mom. She's got to wet her beak a little.
No, she wasn't even supposed to know the pizza was there. That was why Elliot went outside to get it. So the guy didn't ring the doorbell.
But she's going to find out, and you're going to have
and don't say wet your beak.
So he goes out,
disgusting.
But he hears a ruckus in the shed, and he goes to investigate, throws the ball. The ball comes back to him. This is shot very well. So simple and suggests so much, and it's a little spooky. And he drops the pizza and runs over it. That's the second part of the pizza tragedy. That pizza's salvageable, though. They could get that pizza. It is.
The third part of the pizza tragedy is just pick up the box. You at least need to bring it inside for the mom's fucking sake.
It's still good. Get a butter knife, scrape that from the top. You're good. Okay. You're good. So all the shitty boys run outside because he's like, there's a goblin outside. And to make fun of him, to roast his ass, they go look for the goblin. And I noticed this my second time watching it this week. One of the friends takes it upon himself to just grab a giant butcher knife.
You didn't notice that? Yeah.
Well, but that's a good detail about it. These kids, if the mom was a more like effective authority figure, you'd never do that at your friend's house.
Well, she does say, put that knife away or whatever.
But they don't
listen.
But just to know, I can go grab a knife without asking permission.
Well, and like we're the ruckus boys. Oh, we got something to go bash on outside and be nuisances. We do that at this house.
Were you not terrified of your friend's parents and just like walking on tiptoes and like, oh, thank you, ma'am?
No.
No?
My friends' parents always loved me.
So,
no, I was funny. They liked me.
So the next day, Elliot goes into the forest to look for the creature. He leaves Reese's Pieces everywhere. And I like that the movie doesn't tell you why he decides I'm going to leave Reese's Pieces.
I think it's obvious, but all right.
What is it obvious? What's obvious?
He's leaving a trail of Reese's Pieces.
Yes, I know, but I think a shittier movie would be like, because
right. I'm going to plot the... Yeah, they leave it unspoken, but it you know why.
But specifically Reese's Pieces is a little weird.
He just has a big old bag of them. I really relate to this because it's the one thing I bought at Sam's because I did not have a membership, but I went with a friend. And I'm like, well, I've got $5. I'm at Sam's. I'm going to buy this. This is my favorite candy, Reese's Pieces. It was so fucking big. I made myself sick on it. I haven't eaten them since. And I was, like his age. Mm-hmm. And I could not get rid of them. And I would like make baggies of them as Christmas presents. And then I had them for a year.
You have to move these things. But I'm just saying in a shittier screenplay, they would have him say like, oh, I think he'll like Reese's Pieces because of whatever. But no, he just does it and you accept it and you go with it.
Sure.
So he, leaves a trail out in the forest and then they're eating dinner and it's a sad family dinner where Elliot reveals to his mom that his father's in Mexico with Sally.
Yeah. I mean, but he says dad would believe me and this kind of hurts her. And she says, well, why don't you call him? And they're just kind of like, I don't know that he totally knows it's going to hurt, but he feels not believed. And so he's feeling a little like he wants to hurt back. Well, dad would believe me. Well, why don't you call him? I would be with Sally. And I think that line is not to hurt her. He just knew something she didn't. And then I think she does a pretty good job of like keeping her shit together. I mean, it could have been worse. She knows she's about to cry. So she gets up and walks to like do dishes or whatever. And I don't remember why Mike checks on her. Like, I don't know why we see her crying.
He's the one who's more in tune.
No, I know that. But I don't remember what makes her. If she went to hide it, I don't remember what inspires her to show it. Like, I was crying over there.
I don't know if she shows it to them or if we just see it because we see her and she says he hates Mexico.
No, that's what triggers Mike into saying, you fuck. That's how he knows that she's upset. Is she says he hates Mexico to them.
We also meet Gertie. We get to spend a little time with Gertie. Drew Barrymore. Very, very cute little kid here. But, you said it really hurts you that they don't believe him. But, like, they shouldn't believe him.
I get you, but, like, they didn't set up or make any remarks as to him having any kind of whimsical stuff. He seems like a very practical, scientific-based kid. Doesn't seem like, Goblin is a weird place to go.
So, like, how do you handle this?
Yeah.
You just say, like,
I don't
You
know.
must have seen something. Wow. I wonder what it is.
I have no fucking idea. Yeah. But if my kid never did stuff like this and like was seriously shaken and went outside to sleep and to look for it, I would fucking camp out there too.
Yeah, if your kid is sleeping outside, it's an emergency.
Yeah.
But this mom might not even know that he's doing it.
Or they at least don't make any effort to explain that, like, oh, he's always kind of going on quests, and ever since dad left, they're weird. And maybe this is just a new behavior. You know, like he was feeling really ignored by all the older boys. They're not letting him play. So he goes outside and comes up with some reason to be important too. I don't know. It's hard, man, when you're going through a divorce. When I did, my kid was 10 months old. So I didn't have to. Of course, I blamed things on having two houses later, but it's hard not to default there with like explaining a behavior because you've done something wrong rather than, no, this is just something going on with the kid. And what does it matter? We need to fucking figure it out. So, all right. Now, okay. There a couple days has gone by and finally the Reese's Pieces work. And on the second night, Elliot is sleeping outside. That is when E.T. approaches and he lures him inside with the Reese's Pieces and then puts a blanket on him, and which is adorable. And they have an interaction. It's kind of loud. I can't imagine being a mom and not going in to see what the fuck happened. But they immediately have a connection, and he immediately hides him in the closet. And just and this is when you can tell that Elliot I thought E.T. was putting a trance on Elliot because E.T. just needed like some calm, and that's how he made him sleepy. It was clear that E.T. made him sleepy. But I now understand. No, E.T. is exhausted, and so now Elliot's feeling his tiredness too, and they both go to sleep.
Yes.
But E.T. just like instinctively knows that he needs to go sleep in the closet. Like he needs to hide, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, because no one puts him in there. And then,
because the next time we see Elliot, he's
faking sick.
So who knows where E.T. woke up?
That's true. Because it has not been
toilet.
Like this is a human that I've met. I've already met one that scares me with the keys, or was chasing me. Now I've met this one that lured me. I mean, unless it's just like he instantly knows it's a height thing. It's like, okay, anyone closer to my height, trust. Anyone taller, keys. So he just kind of already knows what to do.
Well, and he has that empathic connection with him already.
So you think it's going both ways, Elliot to him? Okay.
Yeah, but I think that's immediately why he trusts him and why E.T.'s immediately in his house and feels protected. Okay. Because that's just this alien. I think that's this alien race. They just bond with. It's why E.T. bonds with the plants and the deer and stuff.
Okay. See the sunlight? That's big and.
I see it now. Yes.
And even
it's
this shot,
flower.
this exact shot, I think is in Signs. All of them leaning in like this, looking at something.
Is it the TV in the closet?
Maybe, but this looks so familiar.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is just like standard Spielberg posing.
Yeah.
And there's so much Spielberg face in this movie of people.
What's Spielberg face?
Oh, that's when people look off into the middle distance
and wonder.
Take off their sunglasses or put on their sunglasses or take off their hat.
Slowly drop the coffee cup and it spills. I do like that when the mom does drop the coffee cup, it's not like, and it drops. It's just realistic. Like she slowly lowers it and it pours
and it just
everywhere.
Spills
Yeah. All right. Okay. So Elliot has had a full fake sick day with E.T. Like he's feeding him a lot. I don't know that they establish very much of like, how are we going to get through this? What's the plan here? What are we doing? But he makes him a little home in the closet, and he realizes on day 2 that he needs to, let the other siblings know that he's here.
Well, he spends the day sort of just bonding with him. First, he's showing him all the stuff in his room and he's just talking. And E.T. is like very politely listening.
Yeah. The kid's boring me to death. Yeah.
I think you said during the movie, like, this is wish fulfillment for kids. Somebody around to just listen to my boring shit as he explains all his action figures. This is Lando Calrissian.
Neat. And I think there's just enough pushback from the older brother, Mike, in terms of like, believing him, waiting for the reveal, and then accepting what he's seeing, and then a little too much screaming from Gertie because if if I'm cued into what my kids' stress signals and noises are, and I know that the brothers like to torture the sister sometimes, as soon as I hear that squeal, I'm up the fucking stairs. But fine, it's a movie. Her scream is adorable. So they all three now are in it. They all are immediately attached to E.T.
Who wouldn't be?
I don't know. It's the fucking eyes, man.
They try to get him to tell him, where are you from? Here, look, this is the globe. We're here on Earth. We're in California.
God, yeah. Whenever any movie deals with like teaching a language or like a basis for starting a conversation and understanding each other, like, is it Arrival? Mm-hmm. I'm just like, how? How do you even begin this? But I don't know. I think this movie actually does a pretty good job at like referencing where we are and I don't know. And then the way he figures out that he wants to phone home and I don't know.
Well, our experience of having a kid who is speech delayed, or who's nonverbal, taught me that like you're still able to communicate with each other even if you never say words to each other. You're still able to, and it's not like we don't. And he says words too, but
right.
You realize that communication is way more than just saying words and even understanding each other's
and words are not the same as intelligence. Like the amount that he's taking in without being able to put it out is near equal to anyone else as long as he is able to like focus on the thing. And so comprehension.
He does his little floating trick with these balls to, I guess, show the solar system. I
guess.
Right there, I'm from that star system. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll get working on that.
Random clay ball. Look at this fucking kid.
The next day, Elliot has to go back to school, and E.T. is left home to wander around the house. So he drinks some beer and gets drunk, and Elliot at school starts getting drunk and a little amorous.
When he turns to the girl. The girl looks shockingly like Drew Barrymore's character. So like it took me a couple before I'm like, wait, that's not his sister, right? That's I mean, not when they're in the classroom, then I understand she's tall girl. But I mean, they really went for someone that looked just did she fucking audition for Gertie? He's like, I got a part for you.
Maybe she did.
You're way too tall, but you're gonna get a smooch.
The class is dissecting giant frogs. Is this something 10-year-olds actually have to do in the
I didn't
world?
know they have to actually kill them.
You have to kill them.
We dissected fetal pigs.
Oh.
No, we dissected cats. Cats.
I think we did dissect frogs, but I was much older and they were already dead. It wasn't, here's some giant, beautiful frogs. Now, please do put chloroform in there with them and wait for them to die in agony.
Right. No, these were cats. They were it's a normal thing apparently to dissect, but they were like, they were stillbirth cats. That's what it is.
You got to find yourself a stillborn cat
so
dealer.
Upset. They don't have fur or anything. It was just like these little. I know.
Yeah, so they're dissecting the frogs, and E.T.
Well, no, they don't ever get around to that.
Well, they're supposed to be,
right.
But E.T. he can sense them, and he loves the plants and the animals. Boy, does he! And so he objects, and then Elliot objects. He's like, "No, I gotta save all the frogs." He lets the frogs out, and then the other kids in the class are like, "Hey, Elliot's doing something fun!" So they all let their frogs out too.
Like 2 people do. The rest of them are like, "I can't believe he's doing this."
And suddenly, there's a billion frogs in the class, and I bet. Spielberg was talking about on Raiders of the Lost Ark, the scene where Indy goes into the tomb and there's snakes. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, our snake guy asked how many snakes we wanted. I was like, I don't know, 2,000. And then we get 2,000 snakes and I realized, oh, that's not a lot.
Oh, fuck.
So it's just like, yeah, that sounds like a big number, but it's just kind of 2,000 snakes is just a little. So they had to get like way more snakes. And this time they're probably like, okay, there's 20 kids in the class, 20 frogs, but 20 frogs doesn't look like a lot of frogs.
It looks like a lot to me.
Yeah. So I'm saying there's probably like 200 frogs in this shot. Yeah. And then E.T. is back at home watching The Quiet Man, where John Wayne kisses Maureen O'Hara. So Elliot kisses this girl. And because he has to match the blocking of The Quiet Man, and he's much shorter than this girl, he has to step on another kid to do it.
This is the wildest part of the movie. It's just like, what? This is out of a different movie.
It's pretty. It's charming.
It's cute.
And E.T. finds a little typing game thing, and he seems to be formulating his plan for how to contact his people. And Mary, the mother, arrives back home with Gertie, and Gertie is trying to show her mom E.T., even though she was sworn to secrecy. She doesn't care. She's going to show her mom, but her mom's distracted.
This is a good job of showing you the hierarchy of listening to a person. Like Mike is going to get the most response from the mom. Elliot will get middle, and Gertie's got no fucking hope. Gertie does not have a soul or personality or anything. Like Gertie's just talking away and explaining that there's an alien in the house, and she's just like blah 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 blah. Like the mom could not. It's just funny.
Well, if you've ever been around a 5-year-old, you know they talk a lot and you don't actually have to listen.
We've been doing it wrong.
Gertie sees on TV is like a Sesame Street or something that's doing like Up Here's for Banjo, and she goes over and starts watching. And I did think, Gertie's probably a little too old to be watching whatever this show is.
But all kids like what they know.
But I've noticed in real kids, even with our kid who's almost 14 years old, when our younger kid is watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or something, the older kid will like kind of sneak a watch and be like, this bullshit, who's for babies, isn't it?
Gross.
And then just stare entranced at it.
That's how I was with Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's how I was with Barney, and yeah, there's.
You fucking nerd.
No, I'm not. There is some weird like. I still want to watch the stuff that I'm supposed to have
comforting.
outgrown.
If it comforted you at a time when you needed the most, then why wouldn't it stay some sort of comfort?
And she's talking along with the banjo, biscuits. B is for biscuits, and E.T. comes up from behind the TV and just starts saying B, B. The first time he's spoken, and she's like, oh wow. But the mother gets a phone call from the school. Your son is drunk at school, and she's like, my son? Okay, Gertie, you be good for 10 minutes.
You're 5. What the fuck?
The
Is
80s were insane.
Next door? I don't understand. I was like, all right, I was on your side, ma'am. What the fuck?
I think that was just the time. You just left the kids at home. She's going to be back in 10 minutes. It's fine.
You have a drunk son at school. You think it's that interaction?
You think it's going to be 10 minutes. You think that's a predictable amount of time by meeting with school officials.
You think this is a predictable thing you've never been through before, so much that you even ask, my Elliot? And you're like, no, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Crazy. But Elliot gets back. He finds E.T. E.T.'s in Gertie's room. She's dressed him up. Elliot isn't happy about that. But then E.T. says, Elliot. And starts talking a lot. And this is where we finally get E.T. phone home. So beautiful, so sad.
It was so sad.
We're also we keep cutting to government agents. They're getting closer and closer to the home.
Those keys are jingling.
And
their method of figuring out who's got ET is that they just drive slowly in front of each house and just listen to a slice of conversation. Very convenient that there's only 1 and 2 people having a conversation per home, or else it'd be a big fucking jumble.
It's a very precise microphone. But yeah, I mean, good knowing that the government's always listening to you and in ways you didn't know possible, but they do. They're listening to this conversation right now somehow.
We're recording it and putting it out live. Or,
That was the joke.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, right. So Elliot feels his sadness and knows that E.T. does need to phone home. It's the right thing to do. So luckily this is right as Halloween is happening. So they devise a plan to get them out there into the forest with the contraption that E.T. has made in the closet, out of the speak and say, or in a very sharp axe,
a saw blade,
yeah,
and
then
a record
just some random shit. It's the whole thing, and an umbrella upside down with aluminum foil in it to make a fucking satellite. Daddy T smart. So they pretend he's Gertie and dress him up as a ghost, and one of them's a hobo or something.
Well, first the mom's like, "You're not going out as a terrorist."
But who's the terrorist? Like, is it a Unabomber? I don't understand.
I don't know. Is he Carlos the Jackal? Who was he dressed as? Release the terrorist cut, because when we see him, he's dressed as a hobo.
And why do hobos have a knife through their head? Was that a remnant of the
I think
terrorism?
so, yes.
Okay, he's like, well, fine, but I'm keeping the fucking hat.
I like that the mom is dressed up. She's so excited to see her kids in costume. She takes all of their pictures, and then they just leave without her.
Right. Well, because she's got to stay there and answer the door for the candy. That's why everything's all right.
But it's weird. A little sad. Like, and they're doing it because they have their plan to sneak E.T. into the forest. But their mom, who's super into Halloween and her kids, they're like, all right, goodbye, mom. And then she just doesn't see them again the rest of the night.
They're supposed to be home an hour after dark. So they get out to the bald spot of the forest.
Wait, Lacey, you're missing something so important.
Oh, right. The scene, the iconic scene, right? where they fly through the air?
No, not, well, yes. But even before that, who do they meet on the street? Yoda. There's a kid dressed up as Yoda, and John Williams in the score plays a little sting from Yoda's Force theme, but in the E.T. style. That's all. I'm impressed with this movie. Would have been made like 1 year after Empire Strikes Back. It's impressive that they knew Yoda was a big deal because, of course, Yoda was not in the original Star Wars. You would think they'd choose a character from the movie that at that point is 5 years old.
But Yoda looks the most like Yoda's the most down on the kid level.
That's true.
So it has to be a kid costume. All right, so they're pedaling like a motherfucker to get to the forest, and immediately E.T. shows off that, don't worry, I can take it from here, Elliot. And they do the iconic ride through the sky, through the moon shot.
But where's the cape?
There's no cape.
On the poster, he has a cape, and in the emblem
I've never noticed that.
And Spielberg made a big deal. Got to add a cape digitally.
I thought it was just a blanket coming off of E.T. All right. No cape. And then he goes and sets up his machine, and I guess E.T.'s hoping it'll work faster than, they don't know how fast or how far away their ship is. So they set it up, and they're there for a very long time, much longer than they were supposed to be there. And they actually fall asleep there. And the next scene you see is the mom filing a fucking police report because her kid is missing. Jesus Christ, can you imagine? And then he just shows up. He shows up while the police officer's still there. And Elliot!
And he asks his brother, did he come home? You gotta find him, Mike. You gotta.
Oh, right. I totally forgot that E.T. wandered off. Duh. And God, he's a crusty bitch when he does finally fucking find him. We don't understand why he walked off. Why would he leave Elliot? I don't know. But he does.
I think there's some hint, like there's like the some string or something is loose, so he had to go get something to fix. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he doesn't have the best feet for Earth. His torso is just not made for this planet.
No. He probably tripped and fell into the river and couldn't get out.
Oh, it's sad. Look at his little body in the river too. It's so fucking sad. So the brother somehow gets him in the bike and brings him home and then puts him in the bathroom. And this is when they decide they need to show the mom, but they don't know what to do. E.T.'s dying, and they just need to get him back on his ship. So it's time to bring in mom, because I don't know how we're going to lie to her this time, especially after there's been a missing person report filed. Mm-hmm. She's had it. And the mom comes in, and it does the most mom thing ever, which is just like, holy shit, what the fuck is that? Let me get my kids away from him. And Elliot is just distraught. And this begins the cycle of him pleading with all of his acting ability for them to listen to him. I'm trying to save him. Don't take me away from him. You're making him die. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he knows inherently that E.T. needs him to be nearby.
And to be able to communicate with him, right? It's like someone taking us away from needs us the most. Like, you're the interpreter, and I've been an interpreter for many a person, and if someone took me away right when my kid needed me to explain how they are feeling, you just immediately feel the fear that the person not able to communicate must be feeling.
Yeah,
it's horrible. And then I didn't even fucking think of that connection for some reason. So yeah, now that's the beginning of the end for me here. From here on out, trauma.
I do like when they show the alien, the mom at first laughs and says, "That's great." She doesn't know what she's looking at. She's just like, this looks good.
You made a thing. You made a goblin.
And then very quickly turns to horror. But then the scariest thing of all time when I was a kid, the spacemen invade the house.
Which is just, I mean, they're in full fucking space suits. I'm sure it's just for effect. And it's probably like, this is Elliot's memory of what happened. And in his head, there were literal spacemen coming to take this alien away, when in actuality, I'm sure it was just a hazmat suit, which is something more like what we see later and so like, it's the people he trusts that are now in these hazmat suits, because now there's faces, but before they're this faceless, scary, horrible thing. So they need full helmets, full fucking like what he would have seen on the moon landing, because he's got no like frame of reference beyond that. I mean, it's identical, the packs and everything. It is the moon landing gear, which would be his only reference for astronaut. And I did not remember there being like an ally kind of in the mix. Or at least he seems to genuinely care, this adult who's with the keys, who's been looking for him. but he says how much he cares, and then he does. Okay. Anyway, and sorry. They are totally concerned that this is a contaminated something. We're not built to defend against whatever diseases he might have. And clearly this kid is sick. The kid that has been the most close to him this whole time. So they need to get him quarantined. But God damn it, do they not have equipment? I did not have a memory in my head of the place where he ends up being in the facility is like directly right outside or even inside the house at some point. Yeah, it's in the house. I mean, that cool tube that they fucking put on the walkway and the guy gets like sprayed and then he walks up the like, this is good stuff. We need these. But they're being very safe until E.T. passes away, and then everyone takes off their gloves, their hats.
Very quickly, they're like, wow,
fine.
The danger has passed.
We just thought he had toxic spit or cum, but he's dead, so now we can just, yeah.
These people don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing.
Then they're treating him like he's an earth animal or whatever with all their medical readings and stuff.
They're with like the forest. They're like, what?
Oh, I was joking.
I was going to say, what? They do a lot of
I think
surgery
they're supposed to be from NASA.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know you were joking.
And the read on why they'd be wearing spacesuits, if the suggestion is not that this is Elliot's memory, but they were actually wearing spacesuits, then it'd be like, because they don't know what they're doing. They just taking what's available. And I guess NASA has a ton of extra spacesuits.
Okay, but then they all have hazmat suits after that. But yeah I guess they needed the extra
I certainly
protection.
like your idea better.
Good. And now this is the part that I just don't really want to relive. It's, they've got them both. Mike reveals that the way they've been communicating is that him and Elliot are connected and that he can feel his feelings. So they're like, well, Elliot's sick and so is E.T. Let's lay them next to each other. We need to be helping both of them anyway. And that's how they figure out, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, they are in alignment here. But they're just close enough for Elliot to see and hear everything, but not close enough for them to touch. And it's just like, make him levitate, Elliot. I mean, E.T., bring him to you. Have a hug.
I always forget that Peter Coyote says to Elliot, I saw him too when I was 10 years old. He came to me when I was 10 years old.
Oh.
And I don't know if this means this literal same alien or he too saw an alien. And so he's dedicated his whole life to being prepared for when the aliens come back. I always forget about that.
I have to.
Yeah.
He's flatlining. They're pumping him full of all this fucking medicine that doesn't make sense for his body.
Well, there's the moment when like Elliot turns over and looks at E.T. and says, I'll be right here, stay. And then E.T. looks at him and then turns over and then appears to like sever the connection between them because then Elliot starts to heal and that's when E.T. flatlines. And
I don't like that.
Well, but then Peter Coyote lets Elliot spend some time with E.T.'s corpse. I'll give you some time alone.
Forcing him out, kicking and screaming, like just let him go to his side right now. It is so fucking frustrating. But okay, well now he's totally dead and we can do nothing about it. You want to feel his? He's been put in a fucking ice box. You want him now? We can't even get a good hug that way. Was he supposed to get in the fucking freezer with him?
He's
already in a bag. That's disgusting. Mm-hmm. That's not the way you want to see grandma. Why would this be the way that he wants to fucking see? Oh, well, we've already saran wrapped grandma.
Gotta do something.
Would you like to come
Gotta
say
let
goodbye?
him have something. I mean, there's no manual for how to handle this.
Fine.
And
whole life to prepare. But whatever.
And it wasn't in any of the manuals that a kid would be in love with one of the aliens, and you
except
have to deal
for that
with
he
the kid.
himself was in love with
That's
that
true.
alien.
They never took this guy seriously.
You saying Elliot's going to grow up 30 years from now and have the same fucking job, the same connection?
I think so. Yeah. But Elliot goes to see E.T. and then he sees the flowers alive again. He realizes, wait a minute, E.T. must be alive. And he unzips him and E.T.'s a damn chatterbox. And I guess what made him come back to life? Don't know. I like how little this movie explains. It's all about you feeling it.
The way I read it was that we wanted them to leave him alone. And he just played dead.
Oh, no. And I think what the movie's suggesting is like the aliens, his people are coming and somehow you telepathically.
That's right. They're getting closer. He's getting better.
And it reactivated him.
Yeah.
Now he's coming back online.
I did read it that way whenever we were watching the movie.
I love that. But Elliot has to pretend that E.T. is still dead. So Henry Thomas, the actor, who has been great at fake crying,
just this
now has to do actual fake crying And he does. The astronauts are like, oh, okay, better
God.
leave this kid alone.
It's like the same as like a little girl telling an older man that she's on her period. All they just do that. And they're like, oh, okay. You need stuff. I mean, I'm going to go. I'll leave you to it.
Take as much time as you need, little miss. So, they have a plan. They hatch a plan. Get E.T. out of here. In the van that they put him in, Mike hijacks it, drives the van.
I love this detail. I've never driven forward because you see in the very confusing shot where the mom is making sure that Elliot is sick, they are cutting in between someone in a fucking station wagon backing out of the driveway, and him and his mom have like the same haircut, Mike and the mom. So I'm like, wait, you've already gone. Why are you back, bitch? Why do you have a blanket? But so it takes a couple shots before we're like, oh, Mike is just doing a thing teenagers do.
Yeah.
He is allowed to to back the car out of the driveway. That's all the driving his mom will let him do. She's too stressed out for any other thing. I just love that because it's like that is exactly the first thing you'd get to do.
My dad would occasionally ask me if I could move his pickup truck from like one part of the driveway to another. I'd be like, hell yeah! Run outside to do it. Yeah, he drives the van that has E.T. in it, and he tells his friends to meet them with their bikes on the playground, and they all take off in their bikes as really reckless cops give chase and try to shoot them dead with guns.
Yes, this is a very action-packed bike scene. I would have been completely spent by the time I got to the end of the block, but now there's dunes. Now there's BMXing to do.
I like that. I like when they're telling their friends the plan. Like, hey, this is our alien friend. You got to help us. We got to run away on our bikes. And the friend Greg says, can you just beam up? And Elliot says, this is reality, Greg.
Right.
So they all take off on their bikes, and right as the agents with their guns are about to close in on them, E.T. has all of their bikes take off into the sky.
But not after the high power, the fast paced, fucking dangerous as shit multi-car chase through like a neighborhood development or something. It's not like a ghost town, but it's, it's just all these different.
E.T. knew that they could handle it up until then. Now he knows
guns. He's like, walkie-talkies, gotta go.
It's getting real. Now we take off, and the audiences around the world cheered and cummed as this happened.
Oh God!
As these kids take off in their bikes, they get to the forest. It's nighttime now. The ship arrives. E.T. has a tearful goodbye with Mike and Gertie. To Gertie, he says, "Be good." To Mike, he says, "Thank you." And then E.T. says to Elliot, "Come," and Elliot says, "Stay." And then, ouch, my heart hurts, but I'll be right here. And his finger glows. See, this is about real love. Never once does, like, Elliot asks him to stay earlier in the movie, but it's always been about, I need to help you get back to your people. Because that's what you do when you love somebody, even if it means that you lose them, you give them what they need.
Well, and it's shows you what real empathy is supposed to look like. Now, they just happen to have a actual physical thing happening that gives them this, pure empathy. But this is what real love looks like. If you're doing it right, you are letting go when you need to.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'll be right here is so powerful. Like, we will never see each other again, but
you'll not ever lose what we had here. Yes. I will be right.
And that will always be with both of us.
Right.
And that's real love. And this is a case where having a sequel to this movie would actually have diminished the power of this.
Oh yes, how could they?
I'm usually like if a sequel sucks, it doesn't matter. You still have the original movie. But if they saw each other again in a sequel, because this is one of the huge movies that never got a sequel, despite people saying, "Give us a sequel."
Yeah, it would have been total shit.
That would have diminished how powerful this moment is. Yeah. I love that the last shot of the movie is just Henry Thomas's face. It's the last shot and then just cut to credits.
Right. It's not like smash cut to him like a few days later and he's having dinner. It's the dinner scene or something, the same table. You could have done it, wrapped it around to show like, look, life went on. He's okay.
Right. And I think they did shoot that and then removed it from the cut. But even more, I literally just having his face be the last thing you see rather than the spaceship taking off.
Yeah, right.
To show like this is about people. This movie's about people. It's not actually about.
It's actually about Steven Spielberg. Aliens. So he's just showing his 10-year-old face.
He's showing his. Right. I'm a person. Yeah.
No, me.
Well,
that's what he's doing. Yeah, but no, it's powerful shot. Yes, Matt. Yes, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes, Matt. Hazmat.